Shalom and welcome to Jewish Voice. I'm Jonathan Bernis and I'm glad you've decided to join us today. A lot of people, myself included, struggle with their weight. Our quest today combines scientific research with biblical teaching to improve your health and mind so you can live the life that God intended. Please welcome back to the program the author of the new book, Think and Eat Yourself Smart, Dr. Caroline Leaf.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great to have you back.
So good to be back.
We've spent the last 2 days talking about your thinking and about real food versus food-like products, which unfortunately makes up the MAD diet, the
Modern American diet.
80% of what we eat is determined by our thinking, the 80-20 principle.
Yes.
And so we have to get our thinking right. It's like a domino effect. We get the thinking right and everything follows. So let's jump into the thinking aspect of getting healthier, eating right.
Okay. Well, it's basically eating mindfully. So being mindfully aware of what am I putting into my mouth, what's on my plate, where did it come from, how did the food that I'm eating, how did it eat? So if you're eating, for example, if you've got a beefsteak in front of you or something, is that from a conventional cow that's been grown up, well, a cow that's grown has been raised in a CAFO, like a factory, they call them factories, concentrated animal farming operations I mentioned earlier on, versus the cow that was allowed to roam free in the pastures and eat all the natural grasses and be a happy cow.
So it may look the same, but it's really completely different. If you did a chemical breakdown of that, of the grass-fed meat versus the industrial meat, radically different.
It's radically different, and you don't have to know, we don't have to all know the details. What is good to know is to know that, to understand a little bit about why should a cow be grass-fed? What is it doing to that meat? What's it going to do to my body? To get a basic understanding of that, and then to make a decision, and that's all mind work, and then to make a decision to eat the correct food. So there's your mind involved in that whole process, is all mind. Then it's your state of mind, which I've mentioned a couple of times while you're eating. So the modern American diet is going to actually break down the protection around your brain. And when they enter into your brain, they form plaques. And that's also one of the hallmarks of dementia. So we're literally increasing, Alzheimer's is increasing, almost parallel to modern American diet increasing. So, and that affects cognitive fluency, memory, and all the other things that go alongside.
So the MAD diet is clearly, from your study, serious health issues.
Serious, across-the-board health issues. To get off the MAD American diet, the modern American diet, the MAD diet, you also go through withdrawal. And it's also roundabout in these cycles of 21 days. Your body works in cycles of 21 days for building thoughts, for healing your body, for withdrawal. It works in these cycles of 21 days.
Can you reverse everything at pretty much any age?
Pretty much, at this stage, if someone is like 70 or odd or whatever, and they've been eating the modern American diet for years and years, you're going to still have, potentially at that stage, you may have caused so much damage in certain of, your liver may be so bad that, it may be hard to completely restore function. But certainly, massive restoration of function can happen with eating properly. But what I cannot stress enough, which leads to your the first question is that we have to change our mind to change our diet. So we can't then go back and eat and think badly. So you change your mind to get your eating right, which people can kind of get their head around that. The hard part is getting people to stay thinking healthy, forgiveness, bitterness, those kind of things.
Just staying on the mind, you talk about conscious, not unconscious, conscious senses.
Yes.
Explain that to us.
Okay, so a large part of the work that I've done is understanding the mind and how it works, and the mind and the science of thought. So the mind has got an unconscious portion and a conscious portion. The conscious portion is what's working when you're awake. We call that the conscious cognitive mind. So that's the part of your mind that's much slower than your. It's quite slow, but very powerful. Okay, and it receives information, incoming information. It's driven by your non-conscious mind, which operates 24 hours a day, which is very fast, works on quantum principles, where our memories are stored, or trillions of memories we've been building since conception, and it's constantly changing. So as we're thinking, we're constantly redesigning our memories. So our unconscious mind is where the memories are being, sort of the belief systems in our memories are stored, and they influence, they pop up and they influence our conscious mind. Now, to get something from the from the outside to the non-conscious mind to affect our functioning, you actually have to pay attention. And that's one of the things you and I were chatting about. One of the chapters in one of my other books that we were talking about on the previous shows talks about the quantum Zeno effect. And I talk about it in this book as well. The quantum Zeno effect is a quantum principle, which is quite simply the repeated effort that makes learning take place. So what you focus on is going to grow. Whatever you think about the most grows. So if you are now driving your kids to school, and on the way to school you're listening to the radio and there's food ads all along the way to school, there's takeout places, there's billboards with food, you've watched on television, whatever, on internet. In other words, there's multiple opportunities to hear about the various different types of convenient food-like products in your daily life. Now, if you don't concentrate what you're doing, if you don't concentrate on what you're concentrating on, if you're not mindfully aware of what you are focusing your attention on, you're just going to let that stuff come in your head.
And it'll decide for us.
It doesn't decide for us. You decide for yourself. By you not stopping, focusing on that and saying, hey, that's not bad, that's bad for me, by you just letting it go in, you focus on it, you plant it into your unconscious. mind. And after 21 days of seeing that same stuff, you've built a long-term memory of.
So we actively have to turn off that garbage.
Exactly. We have to root it out. We have to literally, we plant. This is fast food advertising. This is what it looks like. We grow a thought in our brain that's toxic.
And we want this, folks.
And we want that. That's real food.
We have to take a quick break, but stay with us. There's lots more ahead with Dr. Caroline Leaf. And later, we'll tackle some of the burning questions that you've been asking about concerning the Bible, faith, Israel. It's a segment that we call Ask the Rabbi. Stay with us.
Would you like to tap into the power God gave?
We often get questions from our viewers on many topics related to the Bible, to Israel, to the last days. And let's take a few minutes now to answer some of them. So the first is a question from Lee, who asks, Jesus was supposed to bring peace. You see what's going on the Gaza Strip. How is it possible that he's the Messiah? If you look at the prophecies of the Old Testament, you see what appears to be conflicting prophecies, because some talk about a Messiah who comes in victory and power and establishes peace, and others talk about this suffering servant who dies but not for himself. And this is a picture not of two messiahs, but of one Messiah that has to come twice to fulfill God's peace plan for the world, the redemption of mankind. It begins with Jesus coming as the Lamb of God to take away the sins of the world, and the existence of free will and a decision that we have to make that comes about from hearing the gospel and believing. And so he brought peace, but he brings peace to those who embrace him and receive peace in their hearts. But he will come again, and the issues in the Gaza Strip will be over. He'll bring in peace, but it comes through God's eternal peace plan, the Prince of Peace, Jesus the Messiah, and it requires two comings, not two Messiahs, but one Messiah coming twice. So I hope that answers your question. Bill wants to know, I'm a Christian, but I feel close to the Jewish people in Judaism. Am I wrong to pray Jewish prayers? And Bill, we're all about Christians discovering the Jewish roots of their faith. That's what this program is about. We want believers to understand that the message of God is the same from Genesis through Revelation. So many Christians, have a well-read New Testament. In the Old Testament, the pages are still stuck together, and they see God of the Old Testament as a God of judgment and anger and punishment, and Jesus comes and brings grace. But God is the Old Testament is very much a God of grace. So it's the same message throughout. Jewish prayers are great if they're scriptural. Understand that 2,000 years ago, the leaders of Israel made a decision to reject Jesus as Messiah. Many Jews, the first believers, in fact, were all Jews that came to find Jesus as their Messiah. But at the same time, Judaism as a religion has rejected Jesus as the Messiah. That's changing now. There's thousands of people like me, Messianic Jews who believe that Jesus is our Messiah. So you have to be very careful here to make sure it's scriptural. If it's scriptural, pray it, do it, believe it. If it's not, if it in any way diminishes Jesus at the center, Yeshua at the center, then I would stay away from it. But we have lots of great materials on our website that'll be of help to you. We have time for one more, and it's from, I guess, Bingy. That's an interesting name. Bingy's curious, where is God and why has he never spoken to me? I believe, but why can't I hear him? Bingy, God is always speaking. And the problem is not his speaking, it's our ability to hear. And I guarantee you this, if you join a Bible-believing community where they proclaim relationship with the living God, they believe that Jesus is alive, they worship him in their worship, and that there's teaching from the Word of God. If you will spend time, even 10 minutes or 15 minutes a day, reading the Bible and asking God to open his word to you. And 3, spend time just asking God to speak to you and listen. You will hear the voice of God, because we believe in a God of relationship, not religion. And I guarantee if you make the time, if you get around other people that hear from God and know him and love him, you will experience that. I absolutely promise you. Do those things and you will enter into a whole new realm of relationship with God. Hey, we love hearing from you, and I love answering these questions. You can write to us by going to our website, jewishvoice.tv, or go to our Facebook page. And who knows, maybe your question will be read on one of our upcoming programs. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Before I leave, though, I want to remind you, as I do in every program, Psalm 122:6 says, "Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, they shall prosper that love thee." So if you want to prosper, pray for Jerusalem. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Bernis saying shalom, and God bless you.